Alec Baldwin comes in, sales manager's there
Yeah.
to theoretically motivate, inspire, and to challenge, among other things. And obviously,
It is
the intro for our podcast, right?
It gives me PTSD, literally.
Really?
Oh, literally. I used to do these calls. We used to have these calls once a month. And I think I said it before on the other podcast. We would sit there and we would sit around a table and you'd be like, look to your left, look to your right. One of you is not going to be here when this is over. And we were like, okay. I mean, and they would show this clip constantly. So I know this clip
Really?
by heart. And it was funny. I watched, so when I was watching this again for us, I watched Boiler Room, like clip from Boiler Room.
Yeah.
And it was Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, yes.
He did pretty much the same speech,
Right.
but did not do it justice. Like Alec Baldwin murders in this.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. All right,
all
let's
good.
run that clip now.
Put that coffee down. I'm here from downtown. I'm here from Mitch and Murray. And I'm here on a mission of mercy. Your name's Levine? Yeah. You call yourself a salesman, you? I don't gotta listen to this. You certainly don't, pal. Because the good news is you're fired. The bad news is you've got just 1 week to regain your job, starting with tonight. Starting with tonight's sit.
I'm sure, I mean, you've literally watched the scene probably dozens,
Oh,
if not
yeah.
100 times, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What stands out to you the most? Where does your mind go first when you watch the scene?
My mind goes to the leaderboard, like right away. Like I've been in companies that done that daily. Send out leader lists, leaderboards, and you do not want to be the bottom one or two guys on that board because good chance you're not making it to the next week.
Yeah.
And then the aggressiveness of the sales guy coming in from corporate or the sales manager, whatever his position is. Yeah. I mean, those things stand out to me the most. And the guys in the sales meeting just barking about their leads and how bad they are and all the excuses they have because they're underperforming, right? Mm-hmm. So you can come up with a million excuses if you're underperforming. And they have them all.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a lot of things in this scene you can take away.
And that's what I love about sales. It's really simple. You either have results or you have stories.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's it. You either got excuses or you got sales.
Right.
It was interesting. I was having a conversation with one of our clients, and my recommendation was to make it really clear about the goals that people have on a, basically monthly. You can break it down to weekly. You can break it down to 22 selling days this month.
Right.
And they said, in our culture, we don't feel it's right to publish how everyone is doing either according to their goals or vis-a-vis the other people there. They thought there was something about their culture that said, hey, it's too aggressive. It's not nice to do. And I certainly have my thoughts and I shared them with them. And I said, hey, we can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
What would your approach be to someone who says, Matt, this whole idea of just publishing, whether you got 4 salespeople or you got 100, of publishing sales performance data to see where people rank, I don't think it's good for us. How would you maybe challenge them to think a little bit differently?
Well, I think you know me well enough to know my personality.
Indeed.
I think it's a great motivator.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're sitting on the bottom of the list and you're being looked at by everybody in your company, I think it's a great motivational tool. I mean, we live in a world now where everybody gets an award, everybody gets a trophy. Our kids can come in last place and they still get a medal and they're all happy. That's not the real world. Mm-hmm. And if you end up on the bottom of the list, be better or be gone, right?
Yep.
Take a hike. See you later. Why are we paying your insurance, your salary, whatever else we're doing? That's why I don't sell or consult for people, I think. You're much more tactful at it than I am, obviously. But I think it was a great motivator for me.
Yeah.
My company doesn't do that now.
Okay.
But it was one of the best learning tools I think I've ever had. Okay. Was it miserable?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There were fights that broke out in the office. People would start swinging at each other in the office, steal calls, do whatever they could do to get off the bottom of that list. But it created this competitiveness and this drive for people because they knew if they were on the bottom, what was going to happen.
Yeah, and as I think about this environment that we're in now, right? This is being recorded September of 2021.
Yeah.
The economy's been good. In the construction industry in general, we're going on a solid decade of just, every year's a little bit better than the one before. Good things are happening.
Right.
And I just observed there are a lot of salespeople that are comfortable not achieving anywhere close to their potential.
Right.
And I think what the sales leaderboard does, it deliberately and quite intentionally makes those people at the bottom feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And if you have underperforming, comfortable salespeople, I would argue that's a sales leadership problem.
Yeah. Well, we've been in this market, and you could be underperforming and still hitting numbers. You could be underperforming and still be on the top of that leaderboard.
Right.
Just because you have good customers, you have key customers, guys that are still giving you orders. When rubber really hits the road is when the market goes south.
Right.
And where's your pipeline? What are you doing to keep those numbers up? I
Yeah.
mean, that's when the grind happens. Anybody can go out in the market that's good and look like a rock star and just get by.
Right.
Right? But you've got to be putting in the work behind the scenes. That's what I tell the guys that work for me. Like, you need to keep filling that pipeline,
Right.
making those connections, networking, hitting the shows, doing everything you can, because it's not always going to be like this.
Yep.
And when it turns fast.
Yep.
Right? So,
Yeah. So it's interesting is as you and I were talking about this, preparing for it, I've never been in a meeting like that, right? I worked for a company. I was on the opposite side. So I was buying, right?
Right.
And my joke is, when you're buying, everyone's selling to you. Everyone returns your phone calls. Everyone returns your emails.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks your jokes are funny. Everyone tells you your haircut looks nice. And then I started my own company, and I was like, I have no idea how to sell. You're on the opposite side. So I've never been in a sales meeting like this.
I would have loved to sell you, Bradley.
If we blow it to the other side, which that's what's happening here, right? Alec Baldwin was taking like a brutal sales meeting, and he's saying, I'm going to show you the worst version of this.
Yeah.
If someone's listening to this, watching this, and saying, you know what, I think my sales team needs a kick in the tail. If I'm a sales manager, what advice might you have for being in those sales meetings and saying, obviously, you're not going to take it to the extreme like Alec Baldwin does and swear at people, and fire everyone, say you got to win your job back.
Right.
Is there a strategic way to have a meeting where you say, I found it really motivational to get off my tail and do more without being, a total a-hole?
I kind of like the total a-hole approach. That's always worked well for me.
I've been told on a few things, like, I can see that probably worked in Chicago. And I'm like,
I worked in Philly, worked in Chicago. It doesn't work so much in Dallas as it did there. But
it's funny how that is.
yeah, I mean, you have to sit these guys down, I think, and you have to really look. I mean, you have to look at yourself as an organization. Make sure you're giving them the right tools to go out and sell. Make sure you're giving them the right guidance to go out and sell. If they're underperforming, you need to put it in their face that they're underperforming, not doing well. You need to motivate them somehow to get them going. It's not a Cadillac Eldorado, for God's sake. It's not a set of steak knives, for God's sake.
Right.
But you just have to build the right team, and you have to give them the right tools to go out there and be successful and kill it. Now, there are going to be times where you have to be the consummate a-hole and have come to Jesus meetings and start like, this is it.
It's part of the job.
Yeah, perform or go. You're going to have those times. But I think it's what you do as a company or an organization beforehand, before you get that far down the road where you have to have that meeting, making sure you're putting all the things in place and expectations in place. That's a big thing too, like expectations.
Yeah.
Letting the sales team know what you expect out of them every month, every year.
Yes.
I mean, you have to make sure you're doing those things. Don't just have Alec Baldwin pop up out of corporate
Right.
when everything's already imploded and he's got to do this speech, and obviously he loved doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love doing it.
Yes.
I would love just hammering people like that and then go back on my merry way. But yeah, you've got to, it's what you've done all the way through the organization and how you bring your sales team together.
The other line that I love from that is Ed Harris, about halfway through, says, I don't have to take this abuse.
Yeah.
And Baldwin says, abuse? You think this is abuse? And he says something to the effect of, you can either take the abuse in here,
Yeah.
How are you preparing for the abuse that you're going to have on a sit? I love how they call it the meeting,
the
right?
sit, yeah.
And I think, in my experience, there's something non-obvious about the need to prepare. And you can either, in a relatively safe environment, you can be challenged from a sales professional to improve your game. So when you are in front of an actual customer or prospect, you can perform. It shows you've been prepared. And yet, so many people, when we talk about, everyone hates role playing. All right, fine. We don't like role playing. Everyone hates to practice, but it's so common and it's across industries. It's certainly in our industry. Why is that? And how do you help your team prepare to be coached, to be ready so they can take the abuse when they're in front of a prospect or a customer?
I hate role playing.
No one likes role playing.
Oh my God, it's like the worst thing ever. It's not real. To me, it doesn't.
Well, that's the whole point.
Well, it's the whole point.
It's like
you
practice
set up.
isn't real.
Yeah,
I know, it's practice.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're actually hitting the ball. You're not like selling something that's non-existent.
True.
I think we spend a lot of time with our guys coming up. We put them with mentors, have them with people, have them on actual sales calls. Our guys are making 4 or 5 sales calls a day. We try and put them in situations where they can learn and be with a whole different, run the gamut of people they have to be in front of.
Yeah.
The guy that's easy, the mom and pop shop.
Okay.
You talk about the kids, you talk about the wife, you talk about whatever.
Yeah.
To the guy that's corporate, that is crumpling up your offer and throwing it in your face, which I've had that happen too. So I mean, you try and build that. There's a lot of windshield time in there. So I mean, I don't know if I'd call it role playing, but we just run through different scenarios, and different things, kind of coach them up on things. That's kind of how we work it with the guys.
When you have a young person coming up, you're taking them on these sales calls, and the thing I love about your business, which I think it applies to ours as well, is it's just that repetition. If you're getting 4 to 5 a day, you're just getting.
It's all about repetition.
You're getting reps, right? How do you know, as a sales leader, someone new, when to kind of let them fail to some degree? Do you ever let them fail in front of a customer?
I let them fail all the time. Yeah.
Why?
It's important. They've got to learn to fail. You've got to learn to fail. If you fail and you crumble and you won't just go back out there and hit the next call, then you don't belong here. I mean, I talk to my guys. I tell my guys, like, listen, I'm going to give you all the tools, give you everything you need, train you up on the products, train you up on the costing, train you up on technical, everything else.
Yeah.
The one thing I can't do is teach you how to sell. Either you got it or you don't. I mean, I can get you kind of there.
Yeah.
But Bradley Hartman's not going to sell the same way Matt Potter sells.
Right.
The same way that whoever else sells. Either you figure it out or you don't. Mm-hmm. And we'll put them in situations with customers where we know they're not going to blow up if they do something wrong.
Right.
But we know it's going to be a challenge and they might fail. And we want them to fail. You want the guys to understand what it's like to fail and then be able to come back from that. And when they fail, we sit down and talk about it, see what happened, see how they can go back, make it right, and kind of how it works out.
How would you rephrase this, if you would at all? For someone listening, I want to make sure someone says, well, hey, you talked to Matt, right? Then we can't teach you how to sell. Yeah. And that makes sense because I don't have a sales process. And we just got to go out there, you work hard, we give you tools, and you just do what you do, and you got to find something that works for you. I firmly believe that every individual salesperson and team, yes, every interaction is going to be different. Every person's different. Not only we're selling to, but we're going to be our authentic selves.
Right.
However, if you do not have a rough guideline that says, well, these are the steps, whether it's awareness, interest, desire, right? There has to be some sort of repetitive process. How would you reframe that?
Yeah, there's a repetitive process. What I'm speaking more to is in my mind, when I say that I can't teach you to sell, in my mind, I cannot teach you how to sit across from a customer and build rapport. That is something you have to do. You have to be able to build rapport, build respect, trust, everything that goes into having a good customer and having a long-term customer. That's what I mean by that. You can do awareness, all those steps, we'll get you there. But if you can't sit in front of a customer and build trust and build rapport, you're going to die on the vine.